So my talk today is entitled, The Voices We Carry, the Voices We Become. And it starts here. I grew up in a house full of voices. My family likes to talk, usually all at the same time, loud and in different languages. And as one of the youngest, this meant I was often quiet. And if everyone was laughing, I knew to look to my maternal grandfather, my nanaji. His voice was usually at the center. He could speak 9 languages fluently, but most importantly, he could connect with anyone. And even as he aged and our walks became as brief as half a block, we would be stopped countless times by people who knew him or who felt like they did, even after only a brief interaction. I didn't fully understand it as a child, but I was learning an important lesson. Voices can do more than create noise. They can build connection. When I was 8 years old, I opened my first email account. And my very first pen pal, my nanaji. I was eager to read stories about his global travels, who he met, where he went, what he'd eaten. But then he asked me to write back. So I wrote about school exams, about choir rehearsals, and sometimes even frustrations, like a canceled basketball practice due to another air quality alert. And as I wrote, I started to find my perspective. I started to find my voice. What mattered to me and why? What was shaping my world? I was growing up in a region of Southern California where occurrences of wildfires, orange smoke-filled skies, and ash-covered sidewalks were becoming too familiar. There were days in my childhood where they would keep us inside and cancel sports practices because the air quality was so poor that it was actually dangerous. Writing about these events made me realize they were not routine, they had significance, and they were shaping the context of my life. These memories informed my earliest experiences of the influence of climate change on my communities. But it wasn't until years later in college when a guest lecturer mentioned climate change and its influence on health almost in passing that I had my light bulb moment. I thought of those orange smoke-filled skies, the ash flying through the air, those canceled basketball practices. These experiences that had shaped the context of my early life were not isolated. They were part of something bigger, something urgent, a global health crisis. And the question changed from what am I noticing to what am I going to say about it? This question led me to the United Nations climate negotiations as a youth delegate. And there I was, in an unfamiliar and intimidating space. Yet something did feel familiar. It was a room full of voices, talking all at the same time, loud and in different languages. Until one moment, a physician shared a patient's story. The room went quiet, laptops closed, phones flipped over, people connected. They were listening. And suddenly, I remembered the loud spaces I grew up in. The uniting voice doesn't make noise. It builds connections. It listens. Our health voice is rooted in human stories, and those human stories demonstrate the most intimate impacts of climate change. This is where our voice makes a unique difference. This realization not only led me to medical school, it led me to organizing. If one voice could have this impact, imagine what we could do with a collective one. I arrived to medical school worried about how climate change would impact my patients, and I knew I was not alone. I learned as I listened to my patients. I met parents who were worried to let their children play outside, concerned the air was so dangerous it could exacerbate their child's underlying asthma. I met an elderly man who'd become dangerously dehydrated during a period of extreme heat. I met a pregnant person who worried about what these exposures would do for her developing baby. My patients are on the front lines of climate change, and these stories, these voices, they not only matter, but they need to be heard. In our medical training, we learn to never worry alone. In fact, I would argue the foundation of our life-saving framework is teamwork, collaboration, and collective effort. So we built Medical Students for a Sustainable Future, because as training doctors, we wanted to transform our shared worry into collective action, into a united voice. And what began as a few medical students who wanted to speak up for their patients' futures has grown into a community that has welcomed over 1,000 training doctors across over 100 medical schools. And this exponential growth reflects a deep understanding that climate change is a critical obstacle to the health of our patients, and that the rising generation of physicians is motivated to catalyze action now. And we use our collective voice. In medical schools, advocating for the education we need to provide climate-informed care. In our communities, amplifying voices for resources that we need to protect our patients. Across medical specialties, vocalizing where critical research gaps need to be filled. And even in governments, pulling up a chair so that the health voice has a seat at the decision-making table. It was the realities of climate change that inspired me to study medicine and become a physician. And now, as a pediatrician, I see the world through the eyes of the children I care for. And in doing so, I cannot ignore how climate change influences their health. Where we're born, where we live, where we eat, where we sleep, where we play. I also have the privilege of listening to my patients, from those precious first words all the way to their college admissions essays. What matters to them and why? What is shaping their perspectives, their voices? They're asking questions, they're speaking up, and they're demanding better. And it reminds me, the voices that shape us, they come from the past, they come from all around us, and they even reach out to us from the future in our community's smallest and youngest voices. And this brings me back to where it all started. A simple lesson from my nunnery in the middle of a very loud space. Having a voice is not about being loud, it is about building connection. It is about listening. And we know this lesson well in medicine. It's estimated that the average outpatient provider will conduct 100,000 medical interviews in their career, making listening perhaps the most common medical procedure any of us will conduct. Even Sir William Osler once said, "Listen to your patient. They tell you the diagnosis." So the fundamental basis of medicine involves making space to listen and then building opportunities for shared understanding. So as I think about our work in climate and health and the challenges that we face today to speak up and use our voice, I ask everyone, what are the voices that shape you? What are the voices that make you brave? What are the voices that you carry forward even after they are gone? What is the voice you will become? Thank you.